Hey guys, welcome to another video. Just like I promised, today I'm going to share with you guys my traditional meal. This is called KWACOCO and BANGA soup. So buckle up yourself and keep watching. If you intend to make this meal, you want to take down some notes. So you start by peeling your cocoyam. And then I will not do the traditional method, which is to use a grater. I am going to blend. I have a whole video dedicated to this, how to do it and why I decided to do it. Now, after blending my cocoyam, I go ahead to add a little bit of water, and then I add in about a teaspoon of salt, and then I give it a good mix. I mix it up until I'm sure that the salt is properly mixed into my cocoyam, and then I'll go ahead to tie. Now I just place an oven bowl in my pot and then some leaf to ensure that water doesn't go into my KWACOCO. I have a whole video explaining in detail, showing you guys how you can tie your KWACOCO such that water doesn't get into it. Now I put my KWACOCO on the fire while I head over to prepping my banga for my banga soup. Now I'm just going to wash my palm nuts, boil it, and then pound it. So I pounded my palm nut until it became like what you're seeing on your screen. And then now this is the process of washing out the oil from your palm nuts. So I'll go ahead to use water that is slightly above lukewarm. That is, you can actually bear to put your hands in it, but it's slightly above lukewarm, just enough to pull out the oil from the nuts. Okay, so if you're using lukewarm water, it might not do the job as much as you need. It's not going to extract the oil as much as you need. So the water should be slightly hot to touch, okay, but not to the point where it would burn you. Now I go ahead and put some of the chaff on my strainer, and then I'm going to pour my palm nut oil or my palm nut juice or liquid onto the strainer in order to ensure that there are no chaffs or no particles going into my pot. Now I'm going to do it just once. This palm nut, this chaff you're seeing, I'm not going to wash it again. Some people will do that, but it will cause your palm nut to be light and you have to cook and cook and cook. So this is the consistency I go for every time I'm making banga soup, so that I do not have to overboil and boil. You would boil down until it gets thicker. So we have this particular ingredient that we put in banga soup, which is called manjueli. But in the absence of manjueli, it's very scarce to find it. We always go for this leaf. This is a bongo spice. Okay, it gives the banga soup a very delicious flavor. You don't want to miss that out. So we also use some smoked fish, some crayfish. This is very important. Another very important ingredient is your blended onions. The onions and the crayfish come at the end of your cooking. You also have your blended ginger, no garlic. Okay, you need some pepper, you need some seasoning cubes and salt. I prefer to go for the Maggi crevettes. Okay, while my KWACOCO is on the fire cooking, I had already put my banga on the fire as well. And when you put your banga on the fire, please monitor it. Do you guys see that it was about to throw out of the pot? I actually stood there to film it and show you guys. So you have to stand and monitor to ensure that it doesn't throw, because if it does, you're throwing out the oily part of your soup. Now I come in about 15 minutes later with my fish. I come in with my blended ginger, and then I'm also going to add in my seasoning cubes, my salt. I'm going to put everything that needs to be put into this pot at the early phase, which is of course the fish, the ginger, the salt, the seasoning cubes. The onions and the crayfish are going to be put towards the end. Okay, so you can see me adding some salt into my soup, and you're just going to leave it to boil. Once you start seeing that the oil is coming up the surface, like 30 minutes after, if your heat is really hot, the oil will start coming up the surface. Now this leaf, you can choose to put it earlier when you start cooking your soup, but I always like to put it a little later. You could put it at any point in time. Just ensure that you tie it so that you can remove it from the pot when you're done cooking. Okay, so yeah, I come in with this special, you guys, once you put this leaf in the soup, anybody coming from 100 miles away will tell that you can cook. You are cooking banga soup. Okay, so yeah, you can see that the oil is coming to the surface. Our banga soup is cooking nicely. Now one thing I also want to let you know is the quantity of oil you have floating on the surface of your soup would depend on the kind of nuts you're using. If you have very oily nuts, you have a lot more oil, but if not, you might not have a lot. And if you also allow it to throw out when it's bubbling, that's going to be to your disadvantage. So you want to monitor your pot at that stage. Now you can see me pouring in the onions. You guys, the flavor the onions bring to the banga soup. I'm going to come in with some crayfish, and yeah, your soup is basically done at this point. After putting the onions and the crayfish, I don't think you have to give this soup more than 10 minutes on the fire. It is ready. The fish is cooked. You want to put your fish earlier on. Once you start cooking, you put in your fish so that your fish can cook in. Okay, so this soup took a total of almost an hour on the fire. Of course, I've edited this video, so I've not shown you guys like all the time it took on the fire, but this soup was on the fire for about an hour. So yeah, you want to consider that when cooking yours. So you can see there's a lot of oil. This was very oily palm nuts that I used. And then I'm just going to drop in my pepper last, because I don't blend pepper when I'm cooking. Most of the times my family members do not eat pepper. So at this point my KWACOCO was ready. You guys, when I cook anything that has cocoyam, I exaggerate the cooking time just because I'm always just really scared that it should not scratch. Now your KWACOCO might seem to be a little soft when you just take it out of the fire when it's still hot, and if you have a problem removing it from the leaf, you can dip it in a bit of water, or you can just sprinkle a little water on the leaf to ensure that it doesn't stick on the leaf. But that's not a problem. If your KWACOCO is looking soft, it is fine. Just give it 15 minutes after you have taken it off the fire. It's going to become hard, and that's why when you're making KWACOCO for banga soup, it's advisable to put in a little bit of water into your cocoyam. If not, it's going to be really hard at the end, so you want to take note of that. You can see that at this point where I'm sesaying my KWACOCO. That's what the Bakri people say when you're shaking your KWACOCO like this. They say you're sesaying your KWACOCO, and I also think that because of this way that we shake it, it goes in front and then it comes behind. That's why we call it timbanambusa. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know anything about that, in the comment section. So yeah, you just want to go ahead and drop some of the soup onto your KWACOCO, and then you can go ahead and serve at this point, and you can have some palm wine at the side. You guys, this was so delicious. Unfortunately, it was so small. You guys, the inflation has caused the prices of cocoyam to be so high. This was cocoyams for 1,000, and that's all of the KWACOCO it could give me. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you do try out this recipe. If you want to try out this recipe, please play this video again, take down all the ingredients, be intentional, watch it and follow the steps, and I promise you, you are going to have a delicious plate of banga soup for yourself. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.